This is another space blimp. Sorry, getting over a cold right now. But anyway, this is another space blimp design I made in Spore. The idea is simple. You got two downward facing thrusters, which creates your lift. Well, not lift, but that pushes the craft upwards. You got a backwards facing thruster that pushes the craft forwards. And obviously, you know, you could hypothetically rotate these thrusters where they can point backwards or, continue pointing downwards or point forwards, give or take. Now, of course, many of you are like, oh, well, that's a ridiculous idea. Well, the idea is to basically create, a submarine that can go into space. Like, oh, but how do you get it back down? Like, you don't. The idea is to go up and stay up, kind of like a satellite, you know. And of course, how do you use, what's the fuel? Well, obviously, this game is doing a terrible job at animating it, but the idea is simple. The fuel would be both an onboard fuel, both an onboard fuel and atmospheric fuel. So basically, it uses the atmosphere as fuel, and it would use, onboard fuel, well, as fuel, like the gas within the blimp as fuel. And like, oh, but those are chemical propulsion rockets. And like in the game, they're chemical propulsion rockets, but the concept would require, ion engines, ionic thrust engines, powerful ones preferably. But like, oh, but how, how do you create a powerful ion engine? Two ways: more electricity, or pumping a lot more fuel into the damn thing. Well, more like the second way, more like using physics to your advantage, trying to physics the crap out of it. More electricity being, set up a very basic ion engine like so, pump a shitload of electricity into it, pump a lot of, like a small amount of gas that gets spat out, like a gas leak that's being ionized and everything. Like, oh, that's fine and dandy and everything. But we have this thing called the Hadron Collider. Now, of course, there's a YouTuber out there that has invented what amounts to be an ion accelerating engine. An engine that accelerates ions at very high speed and basically it's like positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative type of ordeal. And the thing is, he proves the concept of using creating what amounts to be an ion accelerator engine. He proves it. I don't Forgive me because I don't know the name of it, and I'm somewhat jealous that he was able to build an ion accelerator engine. But, you know, and I hope he, proves another concept such as hybridizing an ion engine and a bladeless fan, which why is it called a bladeless fan is beyond me because it uses a turbine to produces blah blah blah. Anyway, it's bullshit. Anyway, so combine the both, and then that's what you got here. You know, and the thing is that how do you create an ion accelerator? Well, you ionize, a positive atom, and it should hypothetically turn into a negative atom. You know, and if memory serves correctly, expose this negative atom to a negative charge, it should be repelled by a negative charge and attracted by a positive charge. So, and all ions are, you know, negative or positive charged atoms, basically an atom with its charge flipped, being repelled by, like, repelled and pulled by, positive and negative charges. So if you play your cards right, you can create an ion accelerator. If you play your cards right, you can also create more ions with the process. In fact, how an ion can create another ion is that once it loses its electron, that electron can go ionize another atom next to it and repeat and rinse and repeat the entire process. You know, so so in a way, if you have, let's say, an ionized vortex, right? You know, and such, that is pulling air towards it, it's just going to ionize that air even further as it, spins, and therefore create, increased amount of ionized air. Now imagine that vortex moving forward and sucking, air into it, and it, and stuff, therefore creating more thrust, more vortex, and it would continue going forward. You know, that's the idea. I've been working on a actual 3D model in Blender, and you know, and the model doesn't look as good as this. So that's why I'm using Spore to, model the damn blimp. But yeah, I do hope I could build a redneck version of this damn thing in the near future, but I estimate it would cost a couple $1,000s to build it. Quite possibly $50 to $100,000 to build it. You know, why such a low number? And not in the millions? Simple. Because instead of using, I don't plan on using metal to build it. Because at the end of the day, you know, once you get done using all of the fuel that keeps the blimp up, you essentially turn it into a vacuum blimp, a blimp that has nothing but a vacuum inside of it. So, which of course, if anyone knows how buoyancy works, you know, air floats on top of water and vacuum floats on top of air. So, yeah, just hope that it's one of them, cross your fingers that you can get into orbit before that happens. Yeah. Anyhow, but yada yada yada, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Bye.